Hey, welcome everybody to the Writing Glitch. I'm Cheri Dotterer, your classroom coach. I cannot wait to share what we have in store today. We are with Dr. Christina Bretz. She and I met back in 2009 when I was transitioning from adult rehab to pediatric school-based therapy, and she was teaching me Handwriting Without Tears and the print tool way back in the 2008 edition of the program. I don't even know how many iterations there have been since then because I know that people keep telling me that things are better and much more improved. So, welcome to the podcast, Dr. Bretz.
Thank you so much, Cheri. I'm so excited to be here.
Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our sponsor. Our sponsor is disabilitylabs.com. At Disability Labs, we are committed to impacting the journey of 200,000 teachers, which, if you take that at about 24 students a classroom, that's 3 million students by 2030 so that they can reignite their passion for teaching. Our professional learning series focuses on math and writing strategies to help all students in the classroom. These interventions improve students with and without disabilities. All students have access to mathematical and writing skills. We have an ebook about the pizza problem available for $14.95. The pizza problem introduces the concept of squares to students. Whether you're a teacher or an occupational therapist, this math problem uses vision to develop conceptual knowledge from kindergarten through 12th grade. And it increases by the complexity of the student's knowledge base and their understanding of number sense. So grab your ebook today. The details will be in the show notes. If you're driving, please wait till you stop driving. But now I'd like to get on with the show with Dr. Bretz. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings us together today.
I'm just really excited to be here. I know we met in 2009, a Handwriting Without Tears workshop, and I've been with Handwriting Without Tears, and now it's called Learning Without Tears for the past 23 years. Before that, I was a school-based occupational therapist, and that's really where I came to find out and discover Handwriting Without Tears. I started using this curriculum with children that were on my caseload and saw the benefits and saw how this program was working for kids of all abilities. I actually called the company and let them know that I really could see how this was helping all the kids on my caseload that were having those handwriting difficulties. Now it's just become a passion of mine to be able to talk with others about learning without tears.
Out of curiosity, before we get into the content about Learning Without Tears, how many kids were on your caseload? But today I keep hearing these unrealistic numbers of kids on caseloads. So 23 years ago, what did a caseload look like?
My caseload, when I first started, and I still remember this, it was actually 24 years ago when I started. It was I had 91 children on my caseload.
Okay, so they were still unrealistic then.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. And I remember coming home and crying most nights because I thought, I can't do it. I can't see these children and help them in the way that I want to help them.
Thinking about the number of kids in your school, you had 91 kids on your caseload. If you could have seen a lot of those kids as a co-teacher with the teacher in the classroom and really instruct in handwriting alongside them, look how much easier your caseload and the management of your teaching and your remediation would have been.
My goodness, yes. I know that at that time when I had all of these children on my caseload, I talked to another occupational therapist in the district and I said, we have to do something. There has to be something. We can't continue this. So we decided, because we both really just loved the Handwriting Without Tears curriculum, we decided we were going to create our own presentation to be able to show this to the decision makers in the district so that they would purchase Handwriting Without Tears for the whole district. And that's what happened. From that, after they purchased, then myself and the other OT went around to the different schools to educate the teachers on Handwriting Without Tears. And I would go in on Fridays and do like a review and a co-teaching with the educator in that classroom. So if I had maybe 3 kids in the classroom that were on my caseload, I was making sure to watch them, but I was also helping the teacher in giving her or him feedback for that entire week as they would go back into the classroom the next week and teach this. And then on Friday, I would come back again and provide some feedback. So it really worked out. We did see a decline in referrals in our kindergarten year because of them being able to teach the program.
That is exactly the model that I believe that every school should be taking on.
Yeah.
Teachers, especially the you kindergarten teachers that are listening, reach out to that occupational therapist in your school. One, the students are going to get the benefits of both professions, and you're going to have less frustration, less struggle, and fewer referrals to OT. And in the long run, I think it's going to make the OT happier too.
Most definitely. I've actually even done at one school, they were wanting one of the teachers was wanting to bring Handwriting Without Tears into their school. We decided that we would do a pilot study. And so I went into her classroom and I administered the screener of handwriting proficiency, which is a free screening tool that we have on our website. And then I went into the other classrooms and did the same thing. And so she was the only one that was teaching Handwriting Without Tears in her classroom. At the end of the year, I went back through and did the screener with all the classrooms. And the scores for her class were remarkably higher than the scores in the other classrooms. And they were able to purchase the program after she showed the principal those results.
Fantastic. I love it. I love that we were able to do a pilot study that is really action based. The teachers and the students both benefit. Were they able then to go back to the other students in the other kindergarten class? I'm not sure what grade they were in, and teach them so that when they moved to first grade, that they were all on the same page?
They purchased it for kindergarten first and second. I went in over the summer and gave a professional development workshop to those teachers, kindergarten first and second grade.
So the teachers then were all on the same page, catch up all the kids, even the kids that didn't necessarily get the training initially, but building on their basic knowledge, they were probably able to catch on to it a little bit faster than that first time it was taught.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just think looking at that professional learning is so important for our teachers, especially now. I was facilitating a workshop yesterday, and it was for teachers, third and fourth grade teachers. And one of them said, I don't know cursive. So I'm so nervous to teach this because I wasn't taught cursive in school. She was a younger educator. And I said, you know what? Give yourself some patience the first year. Give yourself some grace. You're going to be learning right alongside your students. But our cursive is a vertical style that's connected. And she wasn't excited about it at first, because she said, this is mandated by our state. And I really don't want to teach this. I don't see the value of it. And after we started talking, I really understood that it was more of that change that she didn't want to go through, because she was more worried about herself, that she hadn't been taught that herself. But as we went through it and we spent 3 hours in that professional learning, it really helped her, and I think the others, to understand the value as well as how simple it can be to learn and to teach.
Yeah. Was she around 23, 24 years old?
I would say so. Mhm.
My son is turning 24 this August, and I'm looking back and it is hitting home here. I'm always telling stories about my kids on this
Mhm.
podcast. Sorry Sorry, everybody, you get to hear another story about my kids. But my son was in 3rd grade. That teacher was teaching handwriting. And then we had that law change and the law tweak
Mhm,
that kind of put it to the wayside. The
mhm.
next year, the 3rd grade class did not learn anything. It stands to reason that the kids who are now just graduated from college are the first batch of kids that never learned cursive. It is hitting me hard to see that we've gone through an entire, almost generation here of kids that did not learn cursive. That's scary.
Yeah, it is. I would say there's some that I've talked with because I also am an adjunct professor at Eastern Kentucky University, which is very close to where I live. When I talk to the students there, and they'll say, I didn't learn how to do cursive, but I know my friend learned and they write so much faster than I do. But I feel like I can write fast too. It's one of those things where looking at the benefits of cursive is an important thing. It's something that can live with these kids for the rest of their lives. It really started with Common Core and pushed it out because we were looking at reading and those kind of things too. It wasn't something that was mandated at the time.
I was an adjunct at Misericordia University right after Common Core was enacted, and I had the students do a survey on as many OTs as we could find in the state. What we discovered was OTs didn't even know that there was a law change. The teachers were aware of it. OTs weren't aware of even the fact that there was a law change. They had no idea that cursive was being removed until we addressed it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
wasn't really that it was removed, it was just hidden in the
Mhm.
words. Talk to the teachers right now that are listening. Talk to the teachers and tell them some of those benefits of cursive.
Yes. When we think about cursive handwriting and the benefits, first of all, we know that it can be faster than print once they understand how to make those connections. We also know that there is the circuits in the brain are firing. Those synapses are firing in the brain when we put that pencil to paper. That's really important when we look at that. That's something that to me is it's not a conversation of well, in this age of technology, we should be keyboarding and not handwriting. That's not what I'm saying. We need both in the classroom, but there is that benefit of those circuits in the brain firing and knowing that is happening is huge.
It is. It is. That's what the research says. The research says that's the way you're going to learn more because more of your brain lights up.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I needed teachers to hear that. I
Hmm.
needed parents to hear that. This is not just a technology issue. This is a neurological
You're exactly
issue.
right. Yes. And I think, and that's the thing I hear so much is we live in this age of technology. My kids aren't writing anymore. My kids are, on tablets or on their devices, but we're still writing. When I'm going to the grocery and I write things down, I remember it. When we start writing and we're having that recall of information, that's huge. That's helping us to remember. And I know as an adjunct professor, I don't know if you did this, Sherry, but I would tell the students, okay, close up your laptops. I want you to write notes as I'm talking because that way they would recall that information instead of being on a website looking up what they're going to order for their clothes or whatever. Forming those letters by hand is engaging those networks in the brain. It helps the brain learn and it helps the brain to remember better.
Mhm. Which is exactly what I put in my book.
That's great.
Those misconceptions, we're alluding to them. What are some of the myths that you hear? We
Uh,
talk a little bit about technology, but there's got to be some more that you've run into. What are some of those myths that you run into that are impacting our kids today?
I would say one myth that I've heard is we have to teach cursive because kids have to read historical documents. If they don't know how to write cursive, they won't be able to read those historical documents. Is that a reason why we need to teach cursive? Not really. they're going to be able to read those historical documents if it's that one day in class, or you're going to read them to them. That's not really one of the reasons why we need to teach cursive.
The
Yep.
Declaration of Independence, the letters don't even look like we would write them today anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. When we think about that, Cheri, when we think about, okay, looking at the Declaration of Independence, that cursive is so much different than how we teach it at Learning Without Tears, because they were using quill and dip pens. We're not using those pens. They had to have that upstroke or the ink would split and splatter. We're not doing that. So we can teach it in an easy way. We're just connecting letters. When I talk to teachers, I tell them with cursive, it's all about connections. It's just connecting those letters together. And so let's teach them the connections. We'll start with the easiest connections, which is like a baseline to baseline connection, where that first letter ends on the baseline and the second letter starts on the base. You're just connecting them just with that line. And then we're going to work on high to high connections that ends at the midline, and the second letter starts at the midlines. Those are the things that we are working on. A lot of us, we write with that mixture of print and cursive. I was facilitating a workshop yesterday. I said, how many of you write with the mixture of print and cursive? Everybody raised their hand. And the reason is, and I think a lot of the reason is because of those connections. A lot of times we'll print those trickier connections because, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to print it. But we've gotten that fluency, we've gotten our own personalization, and we can write a lot faster by doing that too.
Mhm. I will tell you this, I will have a cursive S and a printed S in the same word. As a matter of
Yes.
fact, sometimes they're next to one another.
Yeah.
And OR, I swear, is the hardest connection. And
There it is.
I'm going to print that R.
Hardest.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm the same way. I always print it in R when I'm writing the word or, because that's one of the hardest connections that there is. We call them our tow truck letters because it ends with the toe. We've got to crank it out. We spend more time on that because we know that's a hard connection. And throughout the curriculum, now we have what's called pause and practice, which is new. You might have remembered it. It was called Review and Mastery, but now we've changed it to Pause and Practice. I love the new term because that's what we want to do. We want to teach some letters, and then we want to pause and we want to practice those letters and get them to have that automaticity of those connections before we introduce new letters.
It's amazing. How is the cursive flowing into what's happening right now with the world of structured literacy? What products is Learning Without Tears coming out with? What is happening as far as the cursive relating to the new writing? We have those four specific areas. We have the explicit, systematic, cumulative, and multisensory. When I was looking through a lot of writing curricula, cumulative was missing. But I think from what I've read and what I've seen and the samples that you've shared with me, I think you in Learning Without Tears have that covered. How does cumulative work in your system? Cumulative means that it's called building on it, scaffolding.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry,
No.
I'm trying to use their terms.
No, I completely understand. With our new 2025 editions that we have incorporated the science of reading in those connections within our student editions, because we know that when children are learning to form letters, when we look at, like you said, we've got the explicit, we've got the systematic, and we've got the multisensory, and we're looking at following that developmental teaching order to look at what skills the children are completing and then building off that. It starts in our print and it goes into cursive, where we have this developmental progression of teaching the letters and building off that to help them teach letters, then words, and then sentences, and eventually paragraphs. All in 10 to 15 minutes a day.
But some of the words that are on the back of this, the phonics words, are gold, hold, told, lamp, post, most, mostly, bolted. And then the knowledge building words are adventure and Arctic. So we have these words that are sounding the same with the changes in the first letter to more advanced words going, ooh, what does adventure mean?
Exactly. What you'll notice in those books, they all follow that same kind of repetition where it's going to start with Matman, and so that they're familiar with that first couple of pages. Yeah. And Matman is huge with Learning Without Tears. He has his own book series. Yep. I love these books. The Matman books are wonderful. You've got all the shapes on the back. Batman is a celebrity for us. If you just go on Pinterest and type in Batman, it's amazing what teachers have come up with. It's so creative, from costumes of Batman to cooking snacks, making Batman into a snack that they can eat with the body as a graham cracker and the head as a pretzels. It's amazing what our educators are doing.
You have a song that goes with Map Man. I've got to confess, I adapted it. I added some words to it because one of the things that Map Man doesn't have is hair, and a lot of kids have hair.
Mhm.
And I had this coarse yarn.
Uh-huh.
I added that he had hair on the top.
Oh, yes. In our books, we have different patterns for hair, either as straight hair or curly hair. You can cut them out of construction paper. Some Batmans might have brown hair or black hair or blonde hair or pink hair. That's fun too. When I do that activity of Batman with preschool or kindergarten students in the classroom, they're going to get some hair to be able to put on Batman as we're going through that activity.
I think I had felt that was an odd color as well. His hands always looked like they had gloves on them.
Yes.
And I drew lines to make it look like gloves with the fingers sticking out.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Yeah.
and I was very creative also with the eyes. Any game that has one of those things that almost looks like a teardrop piece,
Yeah.
game piece, those were the eyes.
Oh, that's great.
And a dice for the nose.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was Mr. Potato Head's lips.
I had one teacher that she contacted me and told me that she used Matman for the weather in her classroom. Matman had a rain jacket. Matman had an umbrella. Matman had boots.
Oh, fantastic. See, Matman, it was such a brilliant idea to whoever was the creator of Matman in your company, because Matman, look at how the kids have drawn to it and adapted him.
Exactly. Exactly. I've seen so many different iterations of Matman. It's been pretty cool to see over the years.
We've been talking a lot about teachers. What are you telling parents about cursive and this bridge into science of reading? How are you helping the parents right now?
Within our website, we do a lot of school to home connections, not so much for us as a company to talk to the peers, but for us to give the educators resources that they can give parents. For our educators, for resources for parents, we have lots of things on our website that the parents can actually go to find things that they can do with their children that are free. There's extra practice pages. For our educators, we have lots of different home links. Once they finish teaching a group of letters, they can send home information of formation charts or verbal language, things that will help parents at home that they can easily implement in the evenings with their children to help them either writing their name or understanding where to start letters and sequence those letters and writing sentences, those kind of things that we're looking at. There's lots of information on our website for our parents because we know that's the key is having that parent carryover in the home too.
15 minutes a day inside school,
Mhm.
plus parent carryover at home while they're doing their homework.
Mhm.
No matter what the subject is, it could be social studies. I want you to write your name in cursive at the top of the paper. And then you can
Mhm.
utilize the other resources of writing that you've learned. But let's just do cursive at the top of the paper and get used to writing your name in cursive. It's
Mhm.
amazing the support that you can get if you have parent buy-in.
Exactly. By doing that, just little bits for our children to be able to do at home can really make such a difference that they're going to see in the classroom. And doing that daily is key. Having that explicit instruction in the classroom, having that systematic instruction is really going to make that effective instruction in the classroom too. Our parents are definitely a key to helping with the children's success in the classroom. I think it's something that was a huge part of Jan Olson, who developed Handwriting Without Tears over 40 years ago. She wanted to have that school to home connection throughout the program. It's very evident throughout each of our programs within Learning Without Tears.
She developed Handwriting Without Tears to support her own child.
Yes, her son was in first grade, and John had the worst handwriting in the class. And as an occupational therapist, she went into the school and said, "How are you teaching handwriting?" And the teacher just pulled off what was on the shelf and said, "This is it." And she started flipping through it and thought, I can make this into a developmental progression for children to learn how to write. It was that mother power mode that she took over and wanted to help her son, but now she's helping millions. Yes.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any of the updated programs that you didn't mention earlier or anything else that you'd like to share?
Sure. I would like to say that our 2025 editions have come out this month or a couple months ago, and they are wonderful. Like I said earlier, they incorporate the science of reading. It also has a digital component to it, the interactive digital teaching tool for our educators. I know that one of the biggest things that our educators are facing is time, having time to be able to do everything in the day. This helps with that time issue because everything is right at their fingertips to be able to show that lesson, to be able to click on some digital assets to make it fun and engaging. That is located on our website where you can learn more about that at lwtears.com. We also have some new phonics programs, A to Z for Matt Man and Me and Phonics Reading and Me. So A to Z for Matt, Me, and Me is in pre-K, and then we have Phonics Reading and Me, which starts in kindergarten. And so
That
those
would
are
be
that's A to Z for Matt, Me, and Me that you're showing right there. So that's part of it. We have 26 of those books. What I love about those books is that children see themselves because there's all different characters within those 26 books. Some of them will say, "Oh, that does look like me." That's what I think is wonderful about those books too.
Wow, this has been an amazing few minutes. You have packed so much information in a short amount of time. Since I met you in 2009, your wisdom and the way that you teach professional learning is it's heartfelt. You can tell it.
Thank you, Sherry. I do love what I do and I have a passion about this. And everybody at our company has that passion. We know that by working each day, we are in turn helping children. And so it does feel good to make a difference.
It was a pleasure having you here today. What was the name of that website again?
It's www.lwtears.com.
lwtears.com. Listeners, you were put here for such a time as this. Go be awesome. Go be brilliant. Teach those struggling students these strategies and understand that you can teach the whole classroom at the same time. This has been Cheri Dotterer of The Writing Glitch. It has been a great to have you here, Dr. Bretz. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.